Hi, this is Bill Becker here at Honolulu Community College, and we're going to show you today, we've got a lesson here on nfsen. This is our last topic of the semester for CSNT 315, and we're going to show you how to set up a profile. Now, the concept of a profile in nfsen is that it'll allow you to differentiate the different types of traffic, whether it's TCP traffic or HTTP port 80 traffic or DNS or mail traffic. You can set them up, Telnet, SSH, to differentiate. Because without setting up a profile, unless you put some custom filters in place, it's really not that much better than just a cacti graph. Because that's the value of nfsen, is to separate it into different types of traffic, to differentiate. So let's see how we would go ahead and do that. Now, when you start out with nfsen, it might look something like this right here. And you notice you have home and graphs and stats. Well, we're going to use stats to set up a custom profile. You notice it says live here. This is just your live traffic, and it's all in one bunch. There's nothing to differentiate it. So you have to set up a profile to give it the different types of traffic. So I've got this little screen video here I'll start playing. Now, in this case, I've moved over to stats. You see that stats on that top? And instead of live, I'm going to create a new profile. You see that? A new profile. So I have to come up with a profile name. So let's see, what are we going to call this one here? Here's what I'm intending to do. I'm going to have a profile with HTTP and HTTPS. Now you notice it says Lab 10 Demo. It might not like that. Sometimes you have to, you can't have spaces in some of these profile names. And we're not using groups, so there's no group there. And I got a little description there. And you notice where it says time and size, all that can stay the same, but we do want individual channels. That's an important piece right here. And let me just emphasize that right here. Maybe I can make a little mark on here to indicate that we are going to need here individual channels. If you don't mark that, you won't get the effect you want. And then the rest of this right here is pretty much you can leave as is. So what we got to do here, we're going to get this video going here again. Okay, so now we've got this, and we're going to try create a profile, and let's see what happens when I create it here. All right, create profile. And it says an error because this is a common mistake. I have spaces in the profile name. So be sure you put in a dash or an underscore or just one word for your profile. So I've got lab-10. Now that'll work much better. There, now it created it. So there it is, profile lab 10. So what we've got so far is we have a profile created, but there's two things that have to be done before we get this going. First off is we have to create channels. Now let me go ahead and mark this right here. See this channel list right here and this plus sign. We got to press that plus sign in order to create the channels, and the first time you use it, you're going to have to do a little check mark in this status. When the first channel comes up, then it'll say OK here. When it says new, you only do that the first time. So let's go ahead and see how that happens and how that works. And I'm going to go ahead and keep going on this. So there's our channel list, and I'm pressing the plus sign there, and this brings me up to a new channel. Now I have to create a channel name, and once again, no spaces in there. So I say HTTP, that's web traffic, that's port 80 traffic. And you see up there, that was one of mine that I wanted to use, was web traffic. And I pick out a color. Did you see that? That went kind of quick here. Let me see if I can stop this a second. And notice that up here, it says pick a color. And we took it from the color picker right there. And I picked out the red color. And then I have to put a filter in. And remember, this is HTTP. That would be port 80 traffic. So I have a special way that this has to be written in on that filter. You can't just type any old thing. That's very specific how that gets typed. And so you say port, and then a space, and 80. And then I have to choose the router. And I had that sent router, and then I add the channel. And there it is. There's the first channel. There's the first channel. Now here's that new, and there's a check mark, and I click that once, and it says OK. And from here on in, if I add more channels, I don't have to check that. Just the first channel. OK, now I'm going to make a second channel here. This time it's HTTPS, port 443. And I'm going to go ahead and say, OK, color, what am I going to get here? A blue on this one I decided. And you notice that sign, that means it's going to go above the axis. And here it is, port 443. And you notice I'm picking the router. Each channel, I have to pick out the router. Now for our lab here, we only have sent router here. You see that? Sent router. And so we have to transfer it so it's over here under selected sources. Because if you don't do that, you won't have any source selected. Actually, it'll flag an error and it'll tell you don't have one. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. And so let's go ahead and start this, let this video run again. Sent router, add a channel, HTTPS, and there's our second channel. But you notice we don't have to click on that status anymore. That's done. So right here, let me back up just a touch. I've got this little note I had put here. Let's take a look at that note. You notice I had said that above the axis, see that? Above the axis, I wanted port 80 in red. And I wanted above the axis, port 443 in blue. But below the axis, all TCP traffic. And I'll put that in green. So there'll be some, actually, when we see that on the graph, there'll be some graphed above the axis and then all the traffic below it. So it'll be kind of like a mirrored image there. That's the effect we want. So let's go ahead and see how we would do that. Okay, so we got to add another one here, and this one has got to be everything. This is going to be all the traffic. So I'm going to add one more channel here, and the channel name, all traffic, I'm going to put TCP on this one. Okay, let's put TCP for this one, because that would be all of the web traffic, would be all the TCP. And I'm going to make that green, and it says proto this time, not port, proto TCP. I have to add that, but I also, there it is, add a channel. Now I have all that, and that one is also above right now. See that? And that says OK. So let's see what else I'm going to do next. I'm going to go take a look at this, graphs, and when I wait long enough, the traffic will come in. You know, this is HTTP, TCP, and HTTPS. So that's what our channels, the traffic will look like. But we have to wait, of course, until the traffic comes in, because it takes a while for those to run. So there you have it. That's our traffic and our graphing our traffic into, I got HTTPS, HTTP, and I also have all TCP. Now I could have put that under, if I wanted it under the mirror image, I would have had put the sign minus. That's the way you would do that. So okay, there's a quick lesson on setting up a profile in nfsen, And so this is Bill Becker here at Honolulu Community College, CSNT315, and I'll see you in class.